easy is because there's no consequences.
Yeah.
Because if you step off the goal line, what does it matter? Right. And it isn't that, yes, okay, it's a relatively easy task, but the reason you're really good at it is because it's really good to be focused in this moment because you're not concerned about the future.
Hello guys and welcome back. A big thank you to Noel today, who has joined us on this episode of The Art of Keeping. Hello Noel, how are you doing?
Well, thank you. Yes, no, very well. Yeah, I'm Noel Flannery. I'm a peak performance mind coach.
Would you mind just sort of giving a bit of background to the people watching this video about what you've done and what you're trying to do now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I suppose my background was one of being the competitor. I think this is really helpful. Like goalkeeping coaches, you guys have all, especially the coaches at the upper echelon, they've all been professional keepers themselves. So you're teaching. They're teaching what their past experiences is. They've not learned to do that out of a book. They're doing that out their own experiences. And unfortunately, I find on my side of things, on mental and performance coaching, a lot of them are teaching out a book, and that's great. And it is, very, very useful. But I think there's something to be said for, obviously being the highest echelons myself. I was a racing driver when I was young, and I won 3 British titles, and so I know firsthand what it's like to be there.
Yeah.
With the pressure's on, equivalent for you guys, penalty shootout at the end of the FA Cup or something like that. I know firsthand, what that's like. So part of what I teach is from that standpoint, my own experiences, winning at elite level. And also I've been a manager in elite sport for a long time, last 15, 20 years. I've worked as a manager in motor racing teams, and in motor racing, it's very much kind of setting the standard. Think of it more like airline industry, spacecraft industry. It's that kind of level of detail. So a lot of blue chip companies from IBM, Great Ormond Street Hospital, and many others, set people out in motor racing teams to learn about processes and how failures looked at. I've found that in all the sports I've worked in so far, football has easily been the most impressive. And, it's very, he's a very analytical, very much going into like how the last game was and what can be done better. And, if you think of like an aircraft going down and the investigation that's done and finding out what happened that last week with the crew, what the mindset, what was going on at home, how the aircraft was looked after over the years, etc., etc. Motor racing is very much like that. Whereas, you come away from an event and absolutely everything is analysed and sorted, and there's not a scenario that will come up where we haven't prepped for that.
Yeah.
So we have prepped for things going wrong. So we know exactly what to do to be able to remedy that in a very, efficient and time manner, and everything you see on TV. So there's that side of things. And then lastly, I'm a mind coach. I worked specifically my qualification was done in the States. It was specifically in golf. But right from the off, as I was learning this, I realised that this would apply very easily to other sports. And it's something I did myself when I was a competitor, like when I was a young lad like your age. I realised that the goal was to turn up at the event with an advantage over the rest of the field. Really, at the end of the day, everything you're doing in training is to try and tick that box. And I was ticking that box when I was competing, in the late 80s and early 90s by sports psychology, and I was burying myself in books to learn about that, to try and get myself an edge. And now, obviously, I'm a mind coach, so I apply that. But most of my work these days is in World Snooker,
Yep.
and tour golfers. But I do also a bit of world darts. I've got a couple of racing drivers in the fringe F1 that I look after and stuff as well. So the process is all very similar to me. But goalkeeping's the new thing. This is what I've just started in the last few months.
Yeah. And I think especially goalkeeping in football, it's a very pressurized position, especially in football, because if a striker makes a mistake, let's say they miss an open goal, the fans are gonna look at it and 5 seconds later they probably forget. Whereas if a goalkeeper makes a mistake, it's very, very likely to cost a goal. And a goal in football is, in a good game, you maybe only get one, and you may only get that one opportunity, and that at the end of the day then can cost you 3 points or 1 point, or it's, in my opinion, I think it's the position where you've definitely got to be the most mentally strong in football, being a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think there's an enormous amount of pressure on you. I mean, I think it's only similar for the infield players. I think, like on the reverse side of that penalty shootout.
Yeah.
For the striker, that's I would say just as challenging in that moment as it is for the keeper in some ways. But I suppose statistics are on the striker side, so that's something to take kind of confidence with, But it's very challenging for you guys. But I think it's, and I saw this in the Euros, watching so many of the penalty shootouts, which from my learning, I really hope to see almost every game. Unfortunately, there was a lot of that. But I think, like you say, you let it go in. That's remembered. What the crowd is reaction to that, and and your teammates and stuff. But I think it's very powerful for any goalkeeper to be able to have the skill set to put that to one side. And I think there's certainly personality traits. If you are quite a sensitive guy or lady playing this, then things could be a bit more challenging. But for those of us with a personality that's a bit just, I don't care what people think. I'm going to walk into Tesco's with, a luminous top on and mad shorts and my shoelaces undone. I just don't care. Then I think that character obviously has their downsides as well, but that would lend itself very well to be able to just put that to one side, because I think for those that, and it does hurt the majority of you just kind of see that, but I think it's very difficult for you guys to remain in the moment and not be distracted about what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
It kind of hurts you that bad. I mean, have you found that?
Yeah, definitely. When it's a very tight game and stuff, and maybe you're 1-0 up or it's 1-1, you do get that thought in the back of your head. Oh, like what happens if they come through and it's 91st minute and you don't make that save? Because at the end of the day, if you don't make that save, even if you've had quite a quiet game for the whole game, you don't make that save, that's the one thing that's going to be remembered, because that's your job. Realistically, that's why you're in goal, and that's what the team expect for you. They expect you to make that last minute worldy save that's going to allow them to keep a point or to get the 3 points. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. But I think especially that's a good situation. Like you say it's 91st minute, and you're in your goal line and you're seeing the players all at the other end of the pitch. What happens to you when the ball passes over the halfway line and now it's in your half of the pitch? Now what are we thinking? Is there like a concern, a panic there, for some players, for some goalies, and then the ball gets even deeper than that, and now it's just outside your box, and now we're just, it's 91st minute, this is literally going to be the last kicks of the game. Are we freezing in that moment? Are we getting really concerned? And because your body's ability to move and perform will be greatly, absolutely fundamentally affected by how you feel in that moment. So your decision making will be slower. when you're stressed, and your body's ability to perform difficult tasks will be massively compromised as well. And your focus is on worrying about a future that hasn't happened yet, worrying about letting this go on. And sure enough, like, I mean, just like in life, if we worry about or focus on negative subjects, more often than not, those negative things will happen.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree on that. I think that's a really good point that you made. A lot of the time, sometimes maybe players focus on, oh, I hope I don't concede, or I hope I don't make a mistake, instead of actually focusing on the task in hand. I think that's a very good point.
No, it can be very challenging, for sure. I mean, the analogy I would make is like when we're stressed about the future, it's kind of like it's impossible to feel comfortable about this moment. Something I talk often about is like the goal line. If you were asked to walk up and down that goal line, you could do it forwards, backwards, even with a few beers inside you, it just wouldn't be a problem. It's like no issue whatsoever, right? And the reason it's easy is because there's no consequences.
Yeah.
Because if you step off the goal line, what does it matter? Right. And it isn't that, yes, okay, it's a relatively easy task, but the reason you're really good at it is because it's really good to be focused in this moment because you're not concerned about the future. But if we were to get some paint and a spray can and draw that on the edge of a cliff, I mean, me personally, I couldn't go within 6 foot of that goal line because I'd be so scared.
Yeah.
But in terms of like you being able to walk up and down that goal line, trust me, you're going to do a really bad job of that. And you'll probably be, not at the top of the cliff anymore shortly afterwards.
Yeah.
Because, that fear is going to paralyze us. So it's a kind of similar thing what's going on for you guys, especially 91st minute, penalty shootout for the FA Cup. How do you, if you guys have got a fear of the future, are massively compromised, you have to play like it means nothing when it actually means everything.
Yeah.
So just like it's in practice or something, and that's the key. It doesn't matter if it's golf, snooker, racing, driving, goalkeeping, that's the key. It's about following your process, and no part of your process is ever linked to like what this situation means. Tiger Woods is fantastic. He says, there is no trying harder. Everything's done exactly the same manner all the time. And it doesn't matter whether this putt's, in practice or it's to win the Masters. It's exactly the same. And yet in goalkeeping, I bet like you see the Euros, I bet in training they were doing, goalkeeping practice. And I can bet the keeper's reactions were different to when they let a goal in than they were in that situation. And therefore, the reason their actions are different, it means it meant something different.
Definitely.
There's no question.
Definitely. And I have to say, I really like that example. I think that really shows how much stress and pressure can actually impact a performance, because walking in a straight line, like you said, anyone could do it any time of the week, but you put them under the pressure where there's a near death situation to that extreme, everyone's going to struggle. Everyone's going to heart's pumping, not going to be able to concentrate, going to be more fearful than doing the actual easy task in hand. Definitely.
Yeah, and there's been lots of studies done on this, and and I firmly believe this to be the case. And what I've seen and experienced in elite sport is it's like, although that's a very extreme example of being on the edge of the cliff, you're not telling me that in that moment, to get through to the, to win the Euros on a penalty shootout, that in that moment for that it doesn't mean as much as that. That okay, they're not going to die, but this means everything, absolutely everything. And and that kind of just really, and you're just dragging an anchor around you, I mean, it's just unbelievably difficult to do. Just simple exercises, you just can all do at home to kind of illustrate. As like next time you have something falling out with your partner at home, or mum and dad, or somebody cuts you up on the road, or whatever, in a foul mood, start stretching. And you guys are obviously really, really fit guys. You're aware, just bending over to touch a fork, obviously. You guys, I'm sure, beyond touching your toes, I'm sure you're touching the floor, and just see how it changes, how you can stretch. Really foul mood.
Yeah.
And it's quite profound. You get some amazing news, like you've just signed a new, or you've got a new nephew, or something amazing that's happened, and go and do the same exercise. You'll find you can stretch further. It's like completely profound, and I say, like, your ability to perform is, compromised, massively. Really, really important. So it's about, like, what I work with is, giving players tools in order to maintain their space they're in. And, that often, I always like get these bemused looks, from in early stages that I start working with a player in any sport. It could be, like you're a professional golfer, and it's like, right, on the part being like, what is it? What's the task in hand? And they're like, well, obviously I'm trying to put the ball in the hole.
Yeah.
Say the same thing to a keeper. It's like, what is it? What's your job?
Keep the ball out of the net.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's simple, right? But in actual fact, like, it's fundamentally flawed. You guys, if that's your task, you're trying to do a task in control of. The golfer's no more in control of that ball going in the hole than anything else. There's so many different variables that they're not in control of. That's gonna make that go. And the same for you guys saving a penalty. If the striker does even a good job, not a fantastic job, just a good job, chances are, you guys are done. The ball's going to be in the net.
Well, definitely.
So, and if he does a fantastic job, puts it in the, the absolute in the top corner, and, like, just shaving the top bar and the back, it's like, that's it. I mean, that unless you've done some, you've also had to save your life at that moment. That's going in. So don't make the task in hand something that you can't control. Yeah. Make it something that you can control. And your job is the same as any other elite sportsman's job. Your job is to perform at put yourself in a space where you give yourself the opportunity to perform at your best.
Yeah.
And that is done through being in a relaxed space, forgetting about the past and the last 4 penalties that you've let in. That's irrelevant. It's also irrelevant what's going to happen in the future. It's all about an intense commitment to this moment. And this is all there is this shot, not what we're doing at training tomorrow. I'm sure you guys aren't thinking any of that. That's not a problem for you. But certainly, you be fearful if like you're to, like, just before the penalty kick, it's like, if you're to call a halt, it's like, whoa, stop, and then you go and have a chat with the goalie. It's like, he's like, what are you doing? I just want to get on with this. It's just like, goalie, and they wouldn't want to have that chat because they're so kind of stressed about this moment. Even in, like, everyday life, you get up and we get up out of bed, we stub our toe on the end of the bed, and we're just furious, and then hopping down the stairs, and then you open the cupboard door in your face, and you got birds up and down your face, and you're spilling a coffee cup over. You're making all these errors like we do in real life. But the reason we're making these errors is because of the space that we're in. The second we stubbed our toe in the morning because you were still a bit sleepy, instead of being accepting of that, and it's like, well, I'm human, I'm going to make errors, I'm just up, I'm not at my best. If you get upset about that, then you're going to continue to make error upon error upon error upon error, because fundamentally your body's ability to perform in your and be spatially aware of what's going on is flawed, massively.
Definitely. And would you say then, relating to that, would you, or to be critical of a performance when or during the game or after the game, would you suggest to players to look more on a performance related basis instead of a score related basis, especially in a team game as a goalkeeper?
Yeah, I mean, I think 100%. I mean, I mean, okay, you're only 7, but you're not telling me you haven't experienced a game where, you've actually had a really, really good game. I mean, the scoreline's 3-0.
Yeah,
But you've actually had
definitely.
a really, really good game, because, those 3 shots that went in, you were completely unsighted, and, and they were just astonishing shots, and there's just no way, that you were going to get to them. But I think, for sure you need to learn from failure, but it's a relationship to failure that it's very key, and it's certainly one of the toughest things to change. And I can remember many instances where, like I threw it away, when I was competing and crashed in the last lap of the race for the title, and for sure, of course, I made those errors and stuff, and they did hurt me, but I was worse for them hurting me. My focus was on the pain and the upset, instead of my focus being on what could I have done differently.
Yeah.
Like, how can I be better for next time? And I say, if you can have a good relationship with failure, and I'm not asking you to hug it, but I'm asking you to just accept it, that it's going to happen. You're probably going to fail a lot more times than you succeed in any sport. And, if you have a good relationship with that, then 2 things happen. You're then not afraid of it and living in the future. And therefore, it's really easy to be present in the now, like walking up and down the goal line. But also, you're much more likely to learn your lessons off the failure.
Yeah.
So failure is part of who we are. Like, I mean, as toddlers, we fall down 1,000 times, but we get up 1,001 times. And then eventually, at some point, you learn to walk again. Now you're off and running. And that's how we learn as humans. And to just make sure that you're learning the lessons. But I think so often, and I've found this in every sport I've gone into, same thing keeps happening. Same error keeps happening. There was a doubt over the shot and they didn't reset, or goalkeeper was continually getting upset, and his performance is poor and he's getting upset all the time. He just keep doing the same thing, and it's like like Einstein said, the definition of madness is to do the same thing and expect a different result. We need to be constantly, and this is where my racing background comes from, constantly evolving, like what's happening. There's a snooker event down in Leicester this week, and 2 of my players won yesterday. But and I've watched the game and sent reports in, as I've been doing this morning. And I would say probably, and I mean, I suppose some people may think it's a little bit negative, but it's not. 10% of that email is, patting the back, and this is what we did great, and this is fantastic. But actually, this is what we need to do better.
Yeah.
So we're not playing against Thursday, so we've got a practice day today, and it's very specific. We need to be better at this area, because you can't just, and again, this is a common trait, like, players are going into practice sessions and it's like, you stop and ask them, it's like, wait, what is it you're trying to achieve today? And you'll be stunned at how little information they have on what is the strategy. So what's the point? What are we doing?
Yeah.
You've got to have structure, and you are good at that in football, but and that's great. And you got your set routines and drills and stuff. But what is it specifically today we're trying to get better at? And without analysing data and looking at what we did in previous matches, how do we know what to do better? So it's putting all these pieces together. This is like I do a lot more than just mind coaching with my players. It's much more kind of performance based, which I think is critical in my work in other sports. But you guys, football, I worked in Hartlepool United. I did a month of volunteering a couple of years ago just to start in football because I wanted to learn. And then from there, like I've started doing goalkeeping because that was a part of the game that fascinated me the most. But certainly, like I was really shocked. This is what the 5th tier English football at the time. They've gone up to the 4th tier now, but just in the National League, and I thought, like I'm coming out of doing, winning world championships and racing as a manager, and I'm going into the 5th tier of a national sport, thinking, oh, this is, going to be pretty poor, and I was stunned at how good it was, and how professional football is, and the data driven, that everything is very, very good. So I suspect really my work in goalkeeping is really predominantly just going to be in the mind side of things, more than the other performance parameters, because you guys have got a very, very impressive outlook on how things are getting done.
Definitely, even Kingstonian, who are in the 7th tier of English football, we've got two performance analysis and everything, and it's 7th tier of English football. It's semi-pro, and you think if that's what a 7th tier is like, imagine what a Premier League, club or a Championship club's like.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why like I'm so excited about it. Like I'm talking to a number of clubs and coding up at that level just now, and meetings arranged. But I say it's very new. Like I released an article on LinkedIn about 6 weeks ago, and obviously did a podcast last week, gloves on, and then this for you today, which is great. And it's tremendously exciting because I absolutely love what I do. And especially for the coaches out there, I suspect most of them do too. But it's the only way to be truly excellent at anything is to, just like love what you do. And, if it pays the bills, great. And if it doesn't matter, I'm doing it anyway.
Definitely.
But just like that, we spoke before this started, the passion you've got for what you do is just, amazing. It's infectious. You're a very driven young man, and I don't doubt for a second, you'll get to where you need to go.
Thank you very much. That means a lot. And just finally, Noel, you've talked a lot about being relaxed and not stressed under pressure, but how do you manage that for starters? And secondly, because also another very important aspect of, especially in a team sport, which requires lots of big, aggressive, maybe tackles, and how do you control not getting too stressed when you also need to use the adrenaline and the arousal of the game to sometimes make that last ditch challenge or a 1-to-1 or that penalty save?
No, great question. I think part of in life, things are a lot different than they are in sport. And I think when people think about being relaxed, they think about, lying on the couch just chilling out, right? And, it's there's just nothing going on. It's no intense. It's no focused. It's just chilling out. Whereas in sport, it's different. We need to be as relaxed and chilled out as we are lying on the couch. But that doesn't mean we can't be intense and we can kind of be focused.
Yeah.
So because, it's very, the downside to being angry, the upside to being angry, sorry, one of the few upsides to being angry is generally when people are really, really, really upset, like you guys are mid-game, say your defender's made an error or that. 100%, there's nothing else going on in your mind but this moment. You're very intensely in the now. And embedded, and that's great. But we need that intensity and that what should be in the now, but in a relaxed way. And the reason for that is, your body and your mind will perform better. But in terms of like skills and how to remain chilled out, I mean, I think it's about just getting this premise kind of locked in your head. It's not about, if I said to you, don't think about a red bus, right? So I've got a double-decker London bus, it's red. Don't you think it's got Islington on the front, it's got sharp advertising on the side, there's hafters, but don't, whatever you do, think about this red bus, you're thinking about a red bus, right? Because you can't, because it's about the subject matter. Where we're talking about a red bus, but it doesn't matter whether we're talking about do this or not do this. It doesn't matter. It's about subject matter. And so in terms of like keeping that in mind, it doesn't matter if you guys are thinking to yourself, don't be stressed, don't be stressed, don't be stressed. You're thinking about stress. And that's how you're going to be. It's about replacing a bad thing with a good thing, right? Because if we're in a happy, content, fired up, intensely driven, let's get this job done, we can do this. If we're in that space, you can't be anxious. It can't be done. It's like we can't be wet and dry at the same time.
Yeah.
It can't happen. So it's not, don't make yourself stressed out. It's put yourself in a great space. And how we do that, that's very individual, because, like different things work for different people. Like I've got a golfer out there and he just thinks of, like in times of great stress, this is what was the most fun night out in your life you ever had. And he describes his stag night. And I'll not go into details, but I struggle myself to no laugh thinking about his stag night and the stories he told me. It was amazing, like amazing, right? So he buries himself in the stag night, like if he's walked off a B-part or whatever, his version of letting a go in. And how can that not take the stress away? How can it not? Like I've got snooker players doing exercises on the couch with their pet dogs, etc., etc. It's like whatever makes you personally feel great, do more of that. Work on that more. Remember that thought more, or get another cud off the dog before the game, etc., etc., etc. So then, like after a goal's gone in, instead of right, I'm feeling stressed, I need to not do that. That's not the thing. Just replace it with something that feels better.
So finding your happy place.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so incredibly powerful. And if a player's got any doubt on how powerful that is, do the exercise we spoke about earlier, about trying to stretch when you're upset, or trying to do it when you're in a place of just absolute joy and you've just won a game, and go home and do it then. You'll see the difference. Yeah. And trust me, your reaction times will be immeasurably different. Immeasurably different, which is obviously a key part of the game for you guys.
Definitely. Brilliant. That's amazing. Thank you, Noel. Perfect. Once again, guys, can we all thank Noel for spending his time today to come talk to us and give us a wonderful insight into the mind coach role, and just a general insight into being able to stay relaxed and hopefully all improving our performance all around. So thank you very much, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and have a good rest of your day.